Hello, greetings, greetings, greetings. We are back for another live stream, and today we're going to talk about the Canada election, tariffs, Trump, the trade war. And I have a special guest with me. Her name is Lady O, and she is or was, she'll let us know, a political candidate. So, welcome. Welcome, Lady O. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into this conversation.
Thank you so much, Emma. First of all, thank you for allowing me to come on your platform and have the discussions about tariffs, trade wars, and Trump and the ballot box. So I appreciate that. So I entered into the Canadian political system in 2020 during the whole lockdown situation when that happened. Prior to that, I was like many Canadians, just minding your business, getting to work. If you're a mother, a father, you're just doing your daily routine in life. And then 2020 came and it made everybody pause. And then I started to see the reactions and the conversations and the narratives that were being pushed out. And so I started to hear different conversations from different sources, and it was not aligning. And when it started to be pushed upon me to make decisions for me and my children, decisions that I'm always very intentional of researching before I make a decision, I started to see that there was a huge discrepancy of the information. And then the mainstream media here, which was the mostly government funded media, was saying so much against what we were finding out. And then I start to see Canadian doctors and nurses and even law enforcement losing their jobs for speaking out. And that's when I started to be concerning, because I'm like, this is not the Canada that I knew what was happening. And it was all around making critical decisions about my life and my children's life. So that is when I started to be more intentional about listening into the politics. And then Justin Trudeau at that time, the conversations and the things he was saying and the names he was calling Canadians, which I guess I would have been one of them. So he was calling me a misogynist. I'm a woman. He was calling me a racist. He was calling me a white supremacist. He was calling me all these words because he was saying I was a part of the group that he was saying people had to tolerate. And I found that very offensive. And then I found a lot of like-minded Canadians who were also offended that the freedom of critical thinking was now being attacked. And then I started to get myself exposed to the Canadian. It's so funny now that everything is made in Canada and Canada first, but I'm like, what happened to Canada first when we were getting all our information from south of the border? And now we found out Fauci, fast forward, he had his testimony and everything that we were saying here north of the border, he's now validating to be true, but nobody's listening. But when the Canadian scientists and virologists and experts made in Canada, yay, were speaking, they were being silenced and they were being threatened. And we were told, just listen to the American version, the American narratives. But even south of the border, there was many south of the border that were saying, hold on, there's some more information that you should be exposing yourself to, even to our politicians. So I started to get really weary, and it felt very weird that our politicians were being selective with critical information that was affecting our lives. So 2 weeks to lockdown went to 2 months, went to 2 years. Then this is around the time when I had 4 children, and one of them were just graduating. His 2020 year was shot. Anything of scholarship, anything of academics was just gone. And many, like my son, they have been pursuing their dreams, depending if it's athletics, from since age 10, age 11, to this goal of being recruited, getting a scholarship. For those who are academics, they were sacrificing tutoring and going to all of these academics to get this part of their life as the 2020 graduation. And the graduates of 2020, my heart still bleeds for them because of what that year did to them. And for adults who say education was so important And we've been telling our children, stay in school, don't do drugs, don't go out there and, procreate before time. And they were doing everything right. This is why I resonate with Pierre Polivier. You were doing everything right, and the rewards didn't pan out. And they saw adults that just didn't care about their mental health and wellness. So that's how I got into politics. My background prior to that, I was a youth outreach worker for the city of Toronto. I was the first youth program development for the city of Toronto when it amalgamated. So youth has always been a passion of mine. So when I just saw the ramifications of the children's mental health, the emotional wellness, it was just so atrocious. So that's how I started in 2020 politics. So I ran federally independent. And then I started to be intentional of going to all the different levels of government, and I ran provincially. Doug Ford apparently is holding that against me because I ran against his party. Then I ran municipally to be in the school board because of all of the ideologies that was coming into our school system that so many trustees were allowing to come in. So that was my entry. So 2020 was a year for many beautiful things. So here we are.
And so now here we are, 2025 election. It has been an interesting few months, especially with Trump being elected in the United States. Shout out to my American brothers and sisters. And this tariff tit for tat that's been going on. I mean, he starts by saying he's going to charge 25% tariff, and then he doesn't. And then he says he's going to do it again, and he doesn't. And then when he says he's going to do it, a bunch of premiers either fly down to Mar-a-Lago or they get on the phone with him, and then he says it's on pause again. So we've been dealing with this alongside our election. So let's talk about the candidates in Canada right now. Mm-hmm. So this should be interesting. So we have these four. We've got NDP leader, Jagmeet Singh, right? And then we have our Liberal leader, Mark Carney, and then we have Yves Blanchette, and he is our Bloc Québécois leader. And then we have Pierre Poilievre, who is the Conservative leader. And so these are our four. And tell me, what is Jagmeet Singh offering us? And then we'll go from left to right. So what do we have that Jagmeet Singh is offering? And yes, Miss Skilled Gamer, I cannot stand Ford either.
Oh, I know you and I, Emma, we said we're going to do a live on Ford, but he's lucky because we were supposed to do a live during the Ontario election, but both of our lives got so busy. He missed us coming at him, but he's going to be on our radar soon. But yes, I agree with that comment. But
I don't want to say I can't stand him. It's just, the policies and stuff I'm not crazy about. So before I don't want to,
yes,
I don't want to sound like, him as a person, no problem with. But, when we have these politicians, we're not always going to agree with the things that they're doing or, things that they're implementing. So that's what I mean.
For me, I don't like him. I don't like him, and I don't like his policy. So thank you for being so politically correct, but I am a straight shooter.
Yes, Miss Skilled Gamer. She said he's a liberal.
He is a liberal wearing blue. And this is why he's called the progressive conservatives. And again, I've had my running with Doug. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Again, he showed me his colors during 2020. 2020 was an eye-opener for so many things for me. But recently, I gave him a second shot because somebody from one of his party riding association members we cross paths, and they keep reaching out to me and, wanted me to give him a second shot because of how he responded during the lockdown. And I was very vocal. I did not hold, because again, I ran provincially again, and I was very vocal against him. And I guess, as I said, he's held that up because I had a call to give him a second chance. I, start seeing him again, they said, he is remiss. He also went publicly saying, hey guys, we got it wrong. Please forgive us. This is when he was, allowing bylaw officers and everybody to go and ticket parents to, have their turn at the playground. And then, he started to feel the pressure. And so he went and said, hey, folks, I got it wrong. And so Doug likes us to forgive him for for the actions that has destroyed the lives of our children. But he seems to want to hold grudges of people like myself who was on the right side of history and on the right side of our conscience. So I was told, to run for my writing, send in my CV, got a response very quickly stating, when can we interview you? And then I confirmed the interview. So hours after the day of the interview, I went in my email to look for another message completely unrelated because I was on my way to go somewhere. I changed so many things around to be at this interview, to be the candidate for my writing that I've lived in for over 12 years, and my roots and everything's been here, went to school here, my children are raised here. I have roots here in Scarborough-Guildwood. And the PC party reached out to them and told them not to interview me. Just one sentence. And I said, okay, why? Like, what's, no response, nothing. I sent back another email, no response. And then later on, I got a communication from a little birdie from inside that says it's because of the fact that I am not a person that he knows that I'm not going to sell out. He knows I'm not, he can't get me as a token. He knows that I'm unapologetic. I'm going to say what I mean what I say. And he does not want true men and women there that are going to stand on values. He doesn't want anybody that's going to rub his agenda the wrong way. So then I'm like, what agenda is that? So little by little things are unfolding that Doug Ford is not who people think he is. And everything that he supported, hence why he was public about loving Justin Trudeau, call him his best friends. I did some episodes on my platform about that, and also talking about Chrystia Freeland. He's in love with the Liberals. I've never seen a conservative, quote unquote conservative, so much in love with Liberals. The more you get to know Doug Ford, the more, me personally, I don't like him as a person. And it started from when he flip-flopped in regards to parental rights here in Ontario in our education system. He came in promising all of us that he was going to take away certain curriculums that were dangerous to our children, and he didn't. So that was the first sign that he's a man that is not a man of his word. And I think that's why they don't like Trump. So here we go into the tariffs. I think that's why they don't like Trump. At the end of the day, like Trump, hate Trump, he's a man of his word. He's going to do what he said he's going to do.
Oh, yes, that is right? True. Except for when we're talking about these tariffs so far. I mean, I know some were implemented, but he keeps flip-flopping where that's concerned. So I don't know.
Yeah, well, the flip-flopping Trump. Okay, so he is consistent in telling you he's coming after the tariffs. He's making America number one. What people are saying he's flip-flopping is the on and off, the percentage. It's all strategy. And when I went down to New York and I attended the Three Americans event with Chris Cuomo, Stephen A. Smith, and Bill O'Reilly. And I purposely flew down there because I really wanted to hear what was happening and also have an opportunity to speak to them, specifically Mr. Bill O'Reilly, because I watched a couple of his content and he seems to be very close to Mr. President Trump. Like he has his ear. And I wanted to have Bill O'Reilly's ear, even if it's for a couple of seconds, to let him know Trump's effect in his narrative that's given the liberal this second wind of survival, right? And how they're making him the bad guy when Trump is not our bad guy. Trump did not destroy Canada. Mark Carney and Justin Trudeau did. And I did a post on my X page on that. Mark Carney and Justin Trudeau are the reason why Canada is where we are right now. Mark Carney,
I am in 100%
right?
agreement with that.
From
Okay.
the day Trump came, I'm like, why is Trump our enemy? Because we talk about foreign interference. That's the best foreign interference we've ever had in our life. Donald Trump is the best foreign interference we have. And let me explain why. It took somebody outside of Canada to make our government started to do the things that we were already talking to them about. Pierre Poilievre, everything that Mark Carney is trying to say, elbows up and all of this nonsense, and he's just a plagiarist, right? Is exactly what Pierre Poilievre has been saying all this time. So now when they're trying to say, oh, you and Mark Carney are the same, what are you different? I'm like, I'm sorry, they're not the same. Mark Carney plagiarized, and I guess that's why now they're talking about his academic integrity, because he's already, to me, not an integral businessman. Because as soon as Trump won, what did he do? He took his business south of the border. He's not a man of integrity. He's never put. I'm sorry. When I hear his name and I have to talk to him, this is what always happens. I laugh, and I always ask myself after, lady, like, I have conversations with myself. Honestly, I talk to myself and I answer myself, and I say, why do I always laugh every time I have to talk about this man? And because he's a joke. He's a joke. Notice when I talk about Carney, I get very serious. When I talk about Jagmeet, I laugh, because this man has been so successful in pulling the best con job ever for the NDP. Listen, the Honorable Tommy Douglas of the NDP party, he is the reason why we have the quote unquote universal health care in Canada. We have to give credit to that NDP member. And there's never been one ever since. Jack Layton, I guess, as close as possible, yes, right? But I am I'm always in shock when I see what the NDP grassroots has allowed with this man called Jagmeet Singh, and he likes to call him Jagmeet, right?
Yes. Okay. So, but what are they saying that he's offering? Like, what's his policy?
So he's very socialist. So him and Bernie Sanders, and again, for your American audience, there's a lot of similarities here. So the NDP and Bernie Sanders and I guess your AOC south of the border, they are very much aligned. So much so that on Jagmeet's page, he's done a lot of live streams with Bernie Sanders. I remembered when Kamala lost, he sent out an email blast here in Canada. Jagmeet, the leader of the NDP Canadian Party, sent out a blast for Canadians for us to rally ourselves up and donate to assist in this campaign protest against Kamala not winning. And he has Bernie Sanders on his platform before. So he's a socialist. So if you think about Jagmeet, just think about Bernie Sanders and AOC. That is who Jagmeet is to Canada, okay? And he is still trying to ride the imagery, and I say imagery, of being caring about Canadian, the social fabric. So, dental care, right, for Canadians, and the daycare, and making things more, quote unquote, affordable. However, he was the one that made our economy the way it is, because he aligned himself with Justin Trudeau for the past years of keeping him in power. So the reason why I laugh whenever I hear about Jagmeet is that he's a joke, because he is an enabler. He is the one who enabled the destruction of the Canadian economy so that we are where we are. And now we have to now fight and try to climb out of this deep pit that Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau put us in. So his platform is offering a lot of social benefits, okay? But let me tell you, I have nothing wrong with social benefits. The thing about social benefits that I have an issue is that, to me, especially in our melanated community, it perpetuates the fact of keeping you always in a state of needing the government, okay? So I went through the stages. People think that I don't know what I'm talking about, because I'm like, no. I started off being on gear to income. I benefited from gear to income on co-ops, and also for subsidy for daycare, but I did not stay there. I did not stay there. It was to help you get yourself up and out. The issue I have is the social systems that he and others like him, south of the border, Bernie Sanders, AOC, and here Jagmeet Singh, is that they have a system that wants to perpetually keep a generation, the next generation, always on assistance. So all Jagmeet Singh is offering is, to me, ways in which to keep you always needing the government. So that's my problem with the NDP and the AOCs and the Bernie Sanders of the world, North and South. Their systems is not a help to get you up and out. It's a trap to keep you at a certain level. So the NDP platforms, it's, the daycare. Again, I benefited from Get to Income daycare, but again, it was for me to get myself up and out that I can now pay the type of service I want, right? I can choose the daycare provider, the environment that I want for my children, because I don't have to rely on social assistance anymore. So that's his platform. He's a socialist. It's about, he says it's a social safety net. He's also very much talks about racism and the LGBTQ. He's very union geared. That's what he says. But again, I worked in a union position, and many of the unions are now like management. As a union worker paying your dues, you are not really free, and you really don't have the support that people think that you do as a union worker. So again, it's all imagery with the NDP. And recently, I just did a post on my X. He literally called disinformation and misinformation with the actual fact of over 200 Christian churches that were vandalized.
But before you go further, let's play that video.
Yes, please.
Of a black
reporter, melanated woman reporter
from Rebel News, who asked him about that. So let's go ahead and play that.
News. Your party takes great pride in standing against hate such as white supremacy, Islamophobia, and all.
Sorry, I didn't get your outlet.
Drea Humphrey with Rebel News.
Okay.
Your party.
You know where I'm going to go with this, all right?
Can I speak?
Yeah, you can. I'm just going to say you know where I'm going to go with it, though.
Your party takes pride in standing against hate such as white supremacy, Islamophobia, and online hate speech. Yet you stay silent about ongoing attacks against Christians, even after conservative MP Jamil Javani's order paper question revealed that over 200 churches have been targeted by arson and vandalism since claims of remains being discovered at former residential schools swept the nation in 2021. These claims have been disproven by bands that excavated and remain unproven by those that have not. Will you condemn the rise in acts of hate against Christians today and explain what your party will do moving forward to keep Christians safe from hate in Canada?
Again, thank you, but I'm not going to respond to an organization that promotes misinformation and disinformation like Rebel News, so no, I'm not going to respond to your question.
Please keep the questions and answers short.
Discussing, and she repeated it again, because I watched that clip. She says, maybe you didn't hear me, and she repeated it again,
and
right?
She was like, can I speak? And
right,
he was like literally interrupting her, and instead of seizing the opportunity, look, you are running for prime minister of this country, okay, and this is a serious matter, uncovering all of those bodies and the white supremacy and the hate that's going on against Christians. This was an opportunity for him. And listen, we have a massive Christian community in Canada, okay? So had he responded, and I mean genuinely, he might have had a chance. But the way he responded and said Rebel News is known for misinformation, what is he talking about?
He literally tried to gaslight, because I would, if the viewers, again, if you go on my X page, I have the full video, because she repeated again, and she says, maybe you did not hear me. We have, and she repeated it again, and then she added on, how are you wanting Canadians to vote for you if you're stating that you're a party of this, and this, but obviously you're supporting Christophobia, because now she even used a word. I was like, there's such a word called Christophobia now. I'm like, girl. And he again repeated, he goes, it's questions like that. You should hear what he said. It's questions like that why I don't respect Rebel News, because of misinformation, disinformation. I'm like, dude, it's on record. 200 churches here in Canada has been destroyed, attacked, firebombed. It's a fact. It's not misinformation. And okay, that is what happened in 2020 when they talk about misinformation and disinformation for things that are factual. So what he just did there is a rinse and repeat of what he did in 2020, aligning himself with Justin Trudeau when reporters, independent reporters, not the ones funded by the government, not mainstream media, when independent reporters like Rebel News, like journalists herself in 2020 was bringing to politicians just like Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau the facts about what is being revealed, what other scientists, what other countries were doing. Let's not talk about Tanzania, and that's why they didn't like Magufuli, right? When we were bringing information about what the African countries were also, how they were responding to the pandemic and the remedies that were being successful, they call it disinformation and misinformation. It's exactly what he just did now. 5 years later, he's still doing it, and it's actual facts. So and this is the leader. This is why I said I laugh at this guy when you call his name. This is the leader of the end. Tommy Douglas and Jack Layton, rest their souls, would never have responded to that journalist like that. The NDP leaders of the past would have never disrespected a journalist like that. And the topic, he is saying, I'm not going to answer you because you're with Rebel News. Forget about your facts. It's a qualified statement. Forget about this is about, oh no, I'm just going to dismiss you. This is the disgusting attitude of the elitists. So Jagmeet Singh is a joke to me that he is a leader of any party. Just that clip alone, and the continuation of the clip, because a little bit long, of how much more disrespectful he got with that sister, that journalist. I was like, and here you are, but he's the one that want to talk about the rights of his people. Oh, girl, he is a walking hypocrite. Hence what I said. I am beside myself that the NDP members have actually allowed this joker to become the leader of their party, so much so that they have no seats. I don't even know what he's going to be at the end of this election, but he didn't care about the party. And this is why I said I don't feel sorry for the NDP, because he was always in it for his pension. He needed to achieve a certain amount of years to be qualified for a full pension, and they allowed him to stay. People might not like conservatives and the party all the but the one thing I respected about them, they got rid of Erin O'Toole during the lockdown when they said Erin O'Toole was not representing the party. And within that time, they got rid of they didn't wait like the Liberal Party get rid of Justin Trudeau because the polls say. Jagmeet Singh people kept in him because they have no spine. The Conservatives Party didn't wait for polls. They went on principles. They didn't like what Erin O'Toole was doing, saying, and acting. And in the midst of the lockdown, they got rid of him.
So that is part one. I'm going to end it there. And I'm going to upload part two in the next couple of hours. It was a great opportunity to have the full length and breadth of her life, to actually share my heart and share my feelings, my perspectives, the information, so that as many people who come across her channel can get access to information, and then they can do some further research. So again, her YouTube channel is called Emma Ansah Unfiltered. The full interview is there. It is about 2 hours long. It is great content. You can pause, get something to eat, go take a walk or whatever, come back. But it's a great 2 hours for you to really hear another perspective, for you to stop and pause and say, you know what? I never saw it like that. And that's okay that you would not have seen it like that, because the mainstream media, who are wanting the Liberal Party to win because it's in their best interests, because the funding will continue for them. They know if the Conservatives win, the Conservative will stop our taxpayers' money being funded in any way, in shape or form, assisting these media platforms who in the past critical 5 years of our democracy did not act in the best interest of journalistic integrity. They did not act in the best interest of the public. They did not act in the best interest of truth, accountability, and presenting the information objectively. They did not act in the best interest of those areas. And the last 5 years has been crucial. And the media is the legs, the arms, and the enablers that kept the liberal NDP narrative alive and kept giving it life, giving it breath, giving it longevity. And in the meantime, has been clouding the perspectives and the way that Canadians think, based on the way that these journalists, who are cookie cutters, they don't report the news, they report what their directors and the executives are directing them to report. I'm also going to play you an interview from a journalist who was fired from being a producer on one of our major networks because she had enough of it. She shared what was actually happening behind the scenes and why the public was not being told the truth on all topics. They fired her, and she came out and she spoke because her heart was not in a good place. Her conscience got the best of her. Her emotions tapped into her conscience, and she couldn't keep quiet anymore. And you can hear her passion, you can hear her frustration, but she could not continue being a journalist and working for media, seeing the truth, but then also now seeing what her reporters had to say on camera. She was behind the scenes, and it was conflicted because she knows what the reporters were reporting and saying. She knew it was a lie. And that tells you that many in her same position, and those people behind the scenes, everybody that's in editing and producing and lighting and everybody that's being paid by these media, they go home knowing that they participated with content that lied to the Canadian public. So I'm going to find that interview and I'm going to put it, I'm actually going to, in the next, I'm going to have that as the opening clip in my next part 2, and then we're going to go into my interview. This is Lady O. Stay in action with faith and possibility. Walk in and protect your light. Your purpose will find you. Say what you mean and live like you mean what you say.